familiar. He points to the bartender and says, "You're fired." Dunwaters come back, bought the hotel to fire the bartender, and then sold the hotel later on, you see. So you had a number of characters who traveled the boats. And
he built a stone mansion, which still exists at Fintry.
Yeah.
Was he also responsible for the round milking barns and every sort of aspect of the unusual?
Everything that was done strangely in Fintry was done by Dunwaters.
And one of the characters who regularly traveled on the lake boats of the Okanagan.
Sure.
There are some serious, mean-spirited characters which we're going to talk about when we come back as Gold Trails and Ghost Towns continues our look at Sternwheelers of the Okanagan. Welcome back to Gold Trails and Ghost Towns. Mike Roberts and Bill Barley talking about the Sternwheelers of the Okanagan and some of the characters who were passengers there aboard. Some people were passengers aboard and they not necessarily wanted to be. There were some hard nuts traveling through the Okanagan in the past. Yeah, there were some hard cases. A lot of itinerant laborers came in to help in the orchards and farming and so on. And there was a case in 1912 that comes to mind. And in 1912, Okanagan Mission was a small outport of Kelowna, essentially. And right near the old Bellevue Hotel, there was a general store. And in the general store was a guy called Ed Small and a kid about 14 or 15 years old called Roy Randall. They were tidying up after a fairly busy day. It was a Friday night. And in the door, a guy comes in, he says, "Hands up." He thought it was somebody playing a joke on him. Then he looks again. The guy's about 6 feet tall. He notices some bristly eyebrows, but he's loaded for bear. He's got 2 revolvers, 2 Colt revolvers, and a Winchester rifle, and an ammunition belt. So this convinces him that maybe this guy's serious. So the guy says, "Open the till," and he opens the till. There's $15 inside and a whole bunch of checks. They had cashed a bunch of checks. There wasn't much money left. He's very annoyed at this. He takes out the cash. Somebody else comes in the door. One of the tailors came from the Bellevue Hotel next door, and the Bellevue was an old hotel that stood when I was a kid, Mike. Sure. It was a way station, I guess, right to the south of Kelowna. And sure. And anyway, so he holds the gun to, just starts to put the gun to Taylor's head, and the kid bolts out the door into the darkness. And he fires a shot after the kid, misses him, then scoops up the $15, puts it in his pocket, and wanders out into the night. He was accompanied by somebody else, though nobody knew that at the time. Word goes out that Friday night. They can't find him the rest of the night, of course. Can't find him all day Saturday. But word went up and down the valley. And Sunday, he comes into Penticton, down Front Street, and right into the BC Hotel. And this is what he enters in the BC Hotel. There you see the entrance to the British Columbia Hotel, actually the lobby. And there's the owner there, a guy called Thompson, and Thompson recognized this guy right off the bat from the description. Because again, he's a walking arsenal, Mike. He's got everything. This time he's included a Bowie knife as well. So he stalls for time. He said, "No, I haven't got any room." The guy wanted room for the night. He said, try just down the street. So he and his unknown friend, a guy named Wilson, who wasn't armed, went down the street. He immediately contacts the chief of police, a guy called Roche. Roche comes over and lays in wait for this guy with a constable, Aston. A-S-T-O-N, who was a BC police constable, and another ex-police officer called Folk, I think it was. And anyway, they wait. These guys come in, sit down in the lobby, and with their backs to the door. That's all the police need. They get the drop on them, and they take them prisoner without a struggle. And they frisk him rather casually, take away his 2 Colts, take away the rifle, take away the Bowie knife, the ammunition belts. He had 900 rounds, 500 rounds of dum-dum bullets, and 400 ordinary rounds of ammunition. He was really meant ready
business.
To take on the army or something.
That's right. But the SS Okanagan left for Kelowna early in the early hours of the morning. And they decided he should go to Kelowna, so there he could be arraigned for trial. That's right. And so Aston elects to take him without any help at all. They board the SS Okanagan. Aston gives them the top bunk. Yeah. He takes the lower bunk. And they're well shackled. I got some manacles right here. That's right. Of fact. That's what he would be wearing. That's for leg irons or shackles. And he would be handcuffed as well, both of them. But in the middle of that dark night, as they're heading just past Summerland towards Peachland, he asks Aston for a drink of water. Aston goes out, gets a drink of water, comes back in, and the guy had pulled out a shoulder holster, which was under his armpit. He had a very small gun, Derringer type of gun, pulls it out and holds it against, has the drop on Aston. Aston's gun was far away. And he says, hold it, put your hands up. Aston says, which hand? And stalling for time. And he says, both hands. Then Aston charges him, which was a mistake. The guy pulls the trigger, it misfires, he pulls the second time, shot catches Aston in the head, down goes Aston. He jumps out of the bunk and finds the keys, unlocks his leg irons, unlocks his handcuffs, does the same for Wilson, and they both just walk off the boat very casually, armed by the way, at Peachland. And the purser noticed them, and the purser looks and he says, I don't think they had any tickets for Peachland. Didn't think much about it. They started off for Kelowna, or Gellatley, and then Kelowna. And a woman comes down and said, my daughter heard a very sharp retort in one of the cabins, one of the staterooms. So they go and they get suspicious. They go down and check where Constable Aston was, can't get in, get a pass key, come in, Aston is on the floor, he's dying. They take him to Kelowna, and Doctors Boyce and Dr. Knox were unable to effect any successful operation. He dies. Now, this individual who gave his name as James, Walter James, is now wanted for robbery and murder. And the word is out. And it doesn't take too long, actually. The Indian constables traced him. They traced him part way up the lake. And two ranchers, a guy named Seeley and Ramsey, I believe was the other rancher, they were laying in wait close to Wilson's Landing. Saw two strangers come up the trail, recognized from the description that one of them must have been this guy called Walter James. They get the drop on him. He surrenders without a battle again. They take him down to the wharf, and they wait for the SS Okanagan, which hoves into sight. They put him on the Okanagan with 3 guards, and they tie him to the main post. So when you look at the SS Okanagan, there's a shot of the SS Okanagan, they were actually tied very, very securely to the main post, surrounded by a number of guards. Word gets across to Kelowna, and the crowd is there to meet them. But nobody takes a picture. He's then transported to, well, they take a picture, but nobody has a picture. Yeah. He's transported to Kamloops. He is then put back in for a trial in Vernon, and the judge there, Judge Hunter, after the jury finds him guilty, declares him guilty. He says, I sentence you to hang. He is hanged in about 2 months later in 1912, 24 years old. His real name was Walter Polke, P-O-E-L-K-E, American on the run.
Was that the rarity of violence in the Okanagan? I mean, would that have made this story all the more memorable?
Not really. He went down with 3 other prisoners, 2 for robbing a bank in Lumley, and another murderer called Douglas who'd killed a man in Kelowna.
So things were a bit on the tough side in the Okanagan as well.
And Kelowna was pretty rough.
All right. Fascinating. And there must be 1,000 other great stories as well. One of the things that's always amazed me is how there is no film. You know, because 16mm film was shot around 1930s when the Sicamous was around, but nobody seems to have any film of the boats on the Okanagan. I'm amazed.
No, I thought the Stocks family would. I don't think they have. I don't think any of the families that I know, the old-time families, have that film.
Gosh, it would be great to find some, wouldn't it? Instead of the black and whites, but it's glorious to have those. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
A look at the Sternwheelers of the Okanagan. There were several of them, of course, but we've taken a bit of a look at the Sicamous and the Okanagan, the Aberdeen today, as we take a look as Gold Trails and Ghost Towns continues at the history of southern British Columbia. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.